It feels like in every tip video that I've done in Satisfactory since update 5, I've pushed this notion of sticking to the world grid, and I mean, why wouldn't I? It means that we can easily connect factories together across the world. However, I've stopped following that boring advice, and perhaps you should too. And shortly, I'll tell you why. But first, we need to understand the history of why using the world grid was just so important for us. Now, the whole use the world grid first came to light in update 5 with its release, and the reason for this was prior to update 5, connecting factories together was virtually impossible, and it truly sucked. You had to connect one factory to another with a direct line of foundations. And yes, I know that doesn't sound particularly bad, but please remember at this point in time, blueprints weren't a thing. And before update 5, neither was zooping, meaning we had to place foundations individually, one at a time. And I promise you, it truly sucked. In fact, I remember this one time where I asked all of my Discord moderators to help me place foundations across my world for a few hours, as it just sucked so bad and took so much time doing that. And without the world grid, there was no vertical snapping point. And so if you didn't connect these foundations together prior, they would always be out of alignment. And if I remember correctly, I could be mistaken here, but I do believe the foundations couldn't actually clip one another, which was why we had to use the corner ramp variants as a kind of workaround at the time, because the corner ramp variants could actually clip into other foundations, but none of the others could. And in general, it sucked for my sanity, and to be honest, sure that I'm not the only one who felt that way. So do let me know in the comments, guys, if you remember those days and if you felt the same way. Now, as such, the release of update 5 hugely improved the quality of life features of the game. We had loads of stuff in that, but the biggest implementation, in my mind at least, was the world grid. We could now place a factory in one location and know that another factory could be placed the opposite side of the world and it would still be aligned. With the exception of those who used 1 meter foundations, which actually caused this odd 50 centimeter variance in the foundation's height. But it was still on the same grid and also easy enough to blend into using ramps, as that was also the introduction to soft clipping as well. Now, having factories on the same grid meant that we could easily connect these facilities together, whether creating vehicle highways, train routes, or conveyor and pipe buses, and it saved huge amounts of time and made world saves just that little bit easier to design. Also, just a quick interjection here, having gone through some of my old saves just now, if you would like me to do a video of me reacting to my old builds, do let me know, because it could be a fun one, given everything has changed so much. As I've spent more and more time in Satisfactory, I found that I've learned all these new techniques with the release of different build pieces, allowing me to stray further away from the world grid because I always know how to merge back onto it. I can always return to it at any point without any problem. But I should also mention that if you are a new player to the game, you should still be using the world grid. But I have had so many people jumping into my streams now over on twitch.tv/Totalxclipse if you're interested in joining, asking about how I keep everything to the world grid, and the short answer is I don't. And it's not because I can merge back onto the world grid these days using various techniques, whether blending pieces together or using beams. It's just I've, I guess, outgrown its uses. Take for example in my current Let's Play save. Initially I started from the world grid, and this is great as a starting point because it means that I know any of my future factories and projects will be at the same height increment. But as soon as I unlock trains, the game truly opens up to me. And as I start experimenting with train designs, most notably when I'm creating curves, I naturally find, once placed, they veer a tiny bit away from the world grid. And the more curves that I use, the more out of alignment I become. Speaking of which, if you are interested in knowing how I designed these particular blueprints, I will leave a link to my Let's Play series where we talk about it in one of the videos, as well as the various train videos that I've already got on the channel in the description below for you to check out. And I actually made a faux pas early on, building my train line off the world grid by snapping a foundation to a stray beam, and this actually meant that the height variance is also off. So none of my secondary factories in this save are aligned to the world grid. But this accident, which I thought would haunt me for hundreds of hours on, has actually freed my playstyle, and that's because of the train networks that I design. Each of my factories are now directly connected to one another through these train lines. So I never need to build on the grid, and I never need to try to return back to the grid between my train line jaunts. Instead, all my factories align to my train routes, and so they're never fixed to one grid, and that's been incredibly liberating for my save, because it's meant that I can build curved factories with trains wrapping around them and not have to worry, because it's all interconnected by default because of the logistic veins that run through my factory's body. And I think that this is actually a great way to think about my world, letting it flow more naturally rather than giving it this fixed, rigid position for each of the factories so they're always facing the same directions. And sure, the save isn't finished, but it is starting to look really nice. Now, regardless, I know it's not helpful to everybody, but I did want to share my experience and how I've been building ever since. But do let me know what you think. Do you use the world grids? Or is it something that you've also outgrown? And if you are wondering what to watch next, why not check out my top factory games of 2025? I'll link that here. Special thanks, as always, goes to all of our amazing supporters on Patreon, most notably our Lunar Eclipse Patrons, Firefless the Calamity, Ben Star and Seeker Kala, as well as our Blood Moon of the Day, which today is the Selchan Husky. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.